go live. There he
Oh,
goes.
gee, oh, he did. Okay.
It just took
We're
a
a
while to
minute
kick
late.
in, apparently. Welcome
You,
everybody to the
yeah.
Unready room. We're a minute
Mhm.
unready. And yes, Wellington, thank you. We'll all join the Unready club here in the Unready room. I'm Dan Gunther. With me, of course, is Brandi Jackola. Brandi, how's it going?
Hello. I'm excited to talk about this episode.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Oh man. I felt like we should start with like a kind of weird parody of the Unready room with different people playing us, but I couldn't get it organized because as always we are unready. So
Yeah.
we
Well,
just stuck with
it,
this.
if honestly, if we had planned anything, I would have just shoved Dave in front of the camera. Yeah. This is what you get.
I
This
like
is
it.
what you get now.
I
He's going to
like it.
embody me.
First of all, Tristan, thank you. Your comment before we even started had us crying with
Dying.
laughter.
We were
Yes.
dying. I'm still trying to get my breath back.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we get started, I want to start with a very specific comment, which is that I absolutely called this. So Barry and I recorded a podcast a couple weeks ago for this episode before anybody had seen it. And I said in that podcast, I'm worried there's a chunk of fandom and a bunch of people who are going to watch the first 10 minutes, be absolutely disgusted and turn it off and get really mad because, you know, they're making fun of something I love and yada, yada, yada. Um, and boy, am I seeing a lot of comments like that. And to all of those people out there, I urge watch this episode to the end because I had a lot of those same feelings right at the very start of this. I was like, I'm laughing at this, but oh, but then by the end, I'm just like, okay, I see what you're doing here, and I love it. So that's just, I don't know if any of those people would be watching this, but I implore you watch it to the end and really have an open mind about this. So because it's quite the opposite of how I felt at the beginning.
Yeah, I actually was there for it from the moment it started, and I just
Mhm.
thought, okay, we're in for some parody here. Let's get it on.
But it turned out to be so much more than parody, is my point. Like it wasn't just parody.
And that's part of the attraction of it. That's part of why this is one of the best episodes of Star Trek I've ever seen.
Now that's funny because I've seen a lot of that sentiment as well, and I absolutely felt this would be a very polarizing episode. Like there's going to be, as always, a few people down the middle, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of people on I hated that and a lot of people on that was the best thing ever.
Well, the people who are saying they hate it do not understand satire.
Mm, fair enough, or they just didn't give it a chance, I think,
That
to
too.
get through. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about this. A space adventure hour. I think this is one that we kind of knew that some form of it was coming early on. We had that teaser trailer with a lot of scenes from this episode, very meta. And of course, yeah, we start out with this very obvious parody where we discover that Paul Wesley can absolutely do William Shatner's Kirk. I mean, to the nth degree. And the one comment I have about this is I'm sure Paul Wesley came in with this energy to do this. And because Jonathan Frakes was directing, he just went more, give me more, which results in what we see on screen here because it is just pushed to the absolute nth degree. And I love it.
Yeah. And I wasn't even paying attention to the opening credits the first time that I watched it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I didn't know Frakes had directed. I didn't see his name, but a couple minutes in, I'm like, oh, this is absolutely Frakes. This is
Mhm.
absolutely Frakes. His fingerprints are all over this.
Did you or anybody in the comments, did you catch the cameo by Frakes? Now he's not on screen, but audio, we hear Frakes at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I love that with the because the jumping around as always later on when we get that bit with they're watching the recording and
Exactly.
Anson Mount's character, the writer calls cut and you hear the voice of the director. No, keep rolling, keep rolling. Frakes. That was great. I was like, oh!
Perfection. Just
was
perfection. There's so many. This episode is so much more than what it appears to be.
Absolutely. And yeah, okay, we've got to acknowledge the great line. And the delivery again, just pushed to the absolute, like, the longest pause. In the background, Jess Bush and Melissa Navia, like what is he doing? I love that. Oh god.
Oh, wow. Wow. Also, I just really love that Jess Bush got to do her real accent for
Yes.
a bit.
There's a lot with accents in this episode that I really appreciated. Jess Bush being able to, like you say, use her Australian accent when she's playing the actor. But also when she's playing the first officer, her delivery is so like mid-century uh, female heroine type. Like I it was actually in the middle of recording the episode with Barry that it occurred to me where I'd heard that voice before. And it was Yeoman Colt in the original Cage. Captain! Like that kind of brash, like, it was perfect. And I was like, did she study the Cage to get that voice? Because it's match. Like, I love that.
It is. And the thing is that she's obviously the sex pot.
Yes, that too.
So, I mean, her panties are hanging out in back. Just that skirt is so short, and then she's got on garters and nylons, and it's just, you couldn't have gotten away with that in the 60s. Not on evening television unless it was
It's
after 8
called
p.m.
a uniform, Brandi.
Yeah, well, her uniform is ridiculous, and I didn't see anyone else with that short of a uniform.
Oh, come on. Star Trek would never do a thing where they have a female character who's, gorgeous, wearing a different costume than the rest of the cast just because they want to show off her assets. Come on.
No, they would never do that. Yeah.
See, this is okay. Step outside moment here. This is what it means to be a Star Trek fan. I love Star Trek. We can criticize it, we can poke fun at it, but ultimately we have a deep love of this franchise, which is what this episode shows.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Gosh.
And yes, we actually had this conversation a little bit before we went live too. The track record now of when they play different characters than they're known for, Anson Mount just totally plays against type. And the Elysian Kingdom in season 1 is a great example of that Chamberlain character. And then in this episode, of course, the writer of The Last Frontier, who that's a good format. Let's go through each of the characters that they play. And we'll start with Anson Mount because this is a tour de force. He is so good in this episode, playing kind of the Gene Roddenberry character, but I would say like he really reminded me a lot more of like Isaac Asimov or someone like that. Like very much that kind of low-spoken, nervous, kind of awkward around people character. But just like, the minute he opened his mouth, I was just like, this is amazing.
Before he even opened his mouth, he was amazing.
Yeah.
Because you don't even hear him talk in that first scene that he's in. He's just sitting there and watching everybody else and then taking a drink of whatever he's got, like probably scotch or something like that.
Yeah.
And I just thought how much he could communicate without even saying a word.
Yeah. And then the character gets, more and more intoxicated as the episode goes on. And he plays that brilliantly. He's so good.
And the funny thing is that at no time does he ever really raise his voice.
No.
Even when he's full on drunk and waving a gun around, he still doesn't raise his voice.
Yeah, he almost gets I hate the word, but I would say he gets a little crazed, almost what you would call hysterical, but at the same time keeps his voice in that low volume. It's really interesting to see, and it's kind of like, wow, how did you do that?
And that's why it's so brilliant. It's because Anson Mount, he gets typecast a lot, I think. It's the same type of character. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying that that's been the case throughout his entire career, but he tends to be, the kind of person who is taking the lead.
Yeah.
And so to see him in this role and to see him as the Chamberlain, just showing how much range he actually has, that they could tap into more with these kinds of episodes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about Paul Wesley as the character that Maxwell Saint plays, but we haven't really talked about Maxwell Saint, who is like, almost as insufferable as his fictional character. He's kind of this Hollywood playboy type who obviously revels in attention and is a playboy and all of this stuff. That looked like it was fun to play to, where he was just this really cocky guy.
Yeah, well, and for the time period too, that was pretty average, to be frank,
Mhm.
as that was what was expected
Yeah.
of actors like that. And basically the fact that Sonny had any hand in this as a producer would have been just like whoa, because that just didn't happen in the 60s.
Oh, we'll talk about Sunny because yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, I also wanna no, we'll get to that part later because there's some really cool foreshadowing in this episode too, that when you watch it a second time, you're like, "Oh, wow, I did not notice that." But yeah, okay, let's go to, Rebecca Romaine as Sunny Lupino, the producer, or one half of the producer team, I guess, before, her husband is killed, of The Last Frontier. Totally Lucille Ball type character.
Hmm.
I loved it. She was almost like an homage, a little bit of a tip of the hat to Lucille Ball. I really appreciated her. Even though we get a very limited time with her, I thought she was just captivating. And then we get that the holodeck does this ridiculous death scene with which I want to know what the direction on that scene was, because like I can see Jonathan Frakes like, no, make it ridiculous, make it. I loved it.
Yeah, just milking it for all it's worth.
Yeah.
Just the dramatic long death. And yeah, that happened a lot in the 60s too. Just
Absolutely.
too much. But and just I just thought of this because we were talking about this before we started. But I'm when I get to meet Paul Wesley next month at FanX, I'm going to ask him if that Riker maneuver was something he really tried to do, or if they were trying to do a film an outtake for the end credits. I want to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, my brain drew parallels to those old scientists where Boimler does the Riker when he jumps on the saddle, and Jonathan Frakes, who also directed that episode, didn't know he was going to do that. That was just a so yeah. I was wondering, was this similar? Did Jonathan Frakes not know that that was coming, or was that a planned thing? I don't know, but
I'm going to ask him.
it was pretty good. I like that. Let's go to we talked about Jess Bush. Let's talk about Melissa Navia as Lee Woods. That she's credited only as the Doctor. We don't get a name of
Hmm.
the character. But yeah, when she's playing the Doctor, she's kind of got that gruff aspect, kind of channeling a Leonard McCoy type character there. And I think my favorite bit with her, as referenced by the name I chose, was when Sonny Lupino dies and they all rush over and they're asking, "What's wrong with her? What happened to her?" And she's like, "You all know that I'm an actor, not a doctor, right?" I see what you're doing there. That was clever. That was cute. I like it.
Yep, twisting it around.
Yeah.
This is very well done.
Absolutely. I also and it's funny that this is the second episode in a row that we're going to be talking about hair quite a bit
Mhm,
because
mhm.
this was one where I listened to an interview with Melissa Navia. I think she did with Trek Culture. And when that first teaser trailer came up and they had scenes from this episode with her in that like 60s ridiculous hair, her mom apparently called her and was like, "What's with your hair this season?" And she's like, "Oh no, mom, it's just it's for a thing. It's not the normal. Don't worry."
Yeah, yeah, just a wig, it's all good.
Yeah. But both of her looks, both the like 60s on the bridge look and then like the like braids coming down, um man, she's just a chameleon. She's not the same human being.
She really is, that's the thing, it's like everybody in this cast
Mhm.
could absolutely do anything. They're all chameleons, and we think, "No, no, we've seen these guys too often to believe them as other characters," and yet here we are with this episode.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a long tradition of doing stuff like this. Like I'm thinking of Far Beyond the Stars as well from Deep Space Nine, right? By the way, if
Mhm,
you want to see another character modeled on an Isaac Asimov character, Cole Meany in that episode is very much modeled after Isaac Asimov. So, and I saw shades of that in Anson Mount's performance here. Um, but yeah, everybody is so good. Babs as Lee Wood's partner. The with the wonderful big hair and like 60s look. And just like illustrating the strangeness of Hollywood because he's helping Lee Woods write a western and you're like,
mhm,
okay. it's I love how weird Hollywood is.
mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's just the thing is that there haven't been a lot of black westerns even in modern times.
Mhm.
And that's probably because, unfortunately, most black people in the country were enslaved. So yeah, so finding a black western is a bit more difficult simply because black people in this country were not free.
Yeah. Well, and let's be honest, like the western they're writing will not be a black western. It'll be,
No.
a western with writers' names that, probably in Lee Wood's case have like are abbreviated so you don't know it's a woman who's writing, and
Hmm.
maybe, her partner will have a pen name so you don't, like all of that stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's subtly, and I didn't really think about it at the time, but it is subtly showing us who does the work in the background, and like how a lot of the stuff you love does come from voices that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but they don't get the credit for it, right? They don't get the recognition for it. And Star Trek very much is like that, like the tip of the hat to Lucille Ball and the role she played, and all of that stuff. Like, and the role of women in leading the charge and getting it not canceled, right, and all of that
Hmm.
stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love there's different layers to this
So
uh,
many.
as you go
It's like
through.
it's like a really big cake.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and yeah, okay. So of course the star of the episode, Christina Chong, La Noonien Singh, who's the only one playing herself, playing a role in the holodeck. This detective character that she fell in love with as a child. She wants to have this holodeck create a character to challenge her. And immediately I'm thinking of create an adversary capable of defeating Data, right?
Same, same, same.
So yeah, we're like, okay, this is gonna go well.
Yeah, well, here we have our first holodeck malfunction ever, and they
Mhm.
still decided to put them on ships later.
This is the thing. Okay, this is jumping to the end, but like engineers 100 years from now, like what the heck is wrong with you? It's like, I've got an idea. Let's unearth this old technology that was mothballed for some reason. Oh, there's this report appended to it. Ah, don't worry about that. Just you know, like you'd think they spent the next 100 years figuring out how to make it not turn off the safety protocols, not endanger the lives of people inside, not disable communication from inside. But no, like these are just, this still comes up a century later. And I'm like, good Lord, guys, what are you doing?
Well, because every time we have a holodeck episode, what happens? Every single time there is a malfunction.
Yeah. And I love this episode kind of gets away with it because it's the first time. Yeah,
Poor
absolutely.
Scotty too, but we'll talk about that. Let's finish with the characters.
Yeah, for sure. So I loved again Lon playing this character, and her American accent is pretty good. I love that she switches to it like halfway through a sentence, and I'm like, all right.
She was impressive because there are certain words that trip up people, especially people who have British accents,
Mhm.
which she does. And I didn't hear any of those normal trip ups, and I thought her accent was extremely good.
Yeah.
And the thing I hate about people with British accents doing American accents is their voice always either goes higher or lower than their actual voice, and it just sounds harsher when you know what they really sound like. And I
Mhm.
get why they did it, and she was excellent at it, but I just want to I like her real voice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I loved about this, like, that one time where she switches partway through one of her lines, and, like, I almost didn't clock that she changed her accent at first, and I was like, "Oh, she's speaking in an American accent now." Like, it was very subtle, and it was really well done, I thought.
She's a genius. She's just
Absolutely.
Christina Chong's a genius.
Definitely. Also, Matthew has a good point. Yeah, it wasn't even a century later because we have the rec room in the animated series tries to freeze the crew, right? Like, also, I love Pike reading the report and he's like the recreation room, which like also makes sense as the name. Like, so now I'm like, did they mistakenly call it the recreation room in the animated series, or is Pike mistaken here? Because it kind of works either way.
I'm gonna go with Pike was right. It's just later on they're like, oh, they mispronounced it. So
Yeah, I like that. But I like that they're like, oh, that's a terrible name. Call it the holodeck.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is a character in and of itself.
Yes, absolutely. Um, so yeah, the other thing about Lon is her continuing to open up after kind of putting the Gorn stuff behind her and really coming into her own as a character. Um, she goes to the holodeck and plays dress up and plays. Like I
Mhm.
love that. Like that's wonderful. We as a fandom can absolutely um understand the desire to dress up as something we love and play act, right? I mean, come on.
Mhm.
That's
That,
wonderful.
that's what Comic Con is for. That's a dress up for
Exactly.
adults.
Yeah, absolutely. um, okay. Let's see. What should we talk about now? Let's talk about Scotty. This is a good time to talk about Scotty. Oh boy. This guy's in over his head. He's not a team player, right? I love that he's trying to keep on top of this stuff and trying to, manage all of this. He's bringing Uhura into his confidence, but like, oh, maybe what if there's a wee little malfunction? And just like, oh my god. Um,
Hypothetically.
hypothetically, asking for a friend. But I love that, we're not seeing, and again, this is continuing themes from before, but we're not seeing the character in his final form that we'll see later, right? This fully actualized character later. We're getting the bits of him working towards that. And uh speaking of continuing themes from previous episodes, number one does an amazing job of command here when at the
Mhm.
end she chastises him and says there are 203 people aboard this ship and they're all very qualified. There's no reason you had to be in there dealing with that yourself. Like, ask for help. And he's still kind of at a place where he can't really do that. He feels this extreme guilt over what happened with the Star Diver and his crew there. So I don't know. I look forward to more growth in this area for him because he's
Yeah.
obviously not there yet, but he's learning some hard lessons, I think.
He is, and the explanation that he gives is very valid. It's like, this is
Mhm.
what it was like when he was on the Star Diver. He couldn't complete something on his own. His CO was supposed to do it. They never did. Then the Gorn happened.
Yeah.
And so and if they had completed what they were going to complete, which I can't remember what that is at this moment,
Mhm.
possibly wouldn't have ended up the way they did. So he's got this guilt over that.
Yeah.
And also now he has guilt for not being able to ask for help. He'll get there. We know he'll get there, but I can understand why he did what he did, especially since he's the new guy on the
Yeah.
ship. Like, he is the new guy. And yeah, and Pelia wasn't around to help either, which I think was a smart thing to do in this case because this we needed to see this part of Scotty's background.
Mhm. Definitely. Well, before we get to like the solution and all of that and the murder mystery on the holodeck, there is one character we haven't talked about yet. And I've been kind of saving her for last because this to me is the beating heart of this episode, which is Celia Rose Gooding's character of the talent agent, basically,
Mm.
um, who I love. She's got this energy in this episode that's so fun to watch. Um, One of the things that I loved is, she's a character in the 60s, so she's got to have a cigarette, but it's a TV show in 2025, so she cannot light it. They can't show her smoking, or they don't want to show her smoking, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I kind of love that. It's like fake fire. What the hell?
Just her muttering as she goes off. It's just she's fantastic. She's a whirlwind. She is
Hmm.
a whirlwind throughout this episode, and she's so fun to watch.
Absolutely. And then, of course, what comes from her is the part of the episode where I was just like, I was welling up a little bit because I'm like, they get it. They get what this means to people, right? And like, this was a message from the writers, I think, that like, we get it. We know what this means. We know the legacy that we're trying to preserve here and that we're working on, right? And with certain things happening in the real world to the company that produces Star Trek and stuff, let's let's focus on this message and hope that carries through. The idea that when we're talking about the cancellation of this series, The Last Frontier, throughout this episode, we see it from a bunch of different perspectives. The actors who are either using this to propel themselves to stardom, or they're using it as a springboard to launch a different career, writing a western, doing a thing, whatever. It's a business thing, right? They're trying to, for personal aggrandizement or for money. Even in the case of the writer, like, he loves the show, but ultimately he's created it to make money, and that's not a bad thing. That's the way our society works. Star Trek was created and continues to be created to make money. That's what it's for. But through the character of the character Uhura is playing, we see the effect that it's had on people. That she has become a fan and has come to see it as this guiding light and this model for a better world and something that can make the world a better place. All of this plus weekly space adventures. Yes, absolutely. And it's a little bit, pie in the sky, head in the clouds, eyes wide with amazement, but like, that's kind of what it is to be an optimistic Star Trek fan, right? And I love that. I love that we get an acknowledgement of what this what Star Trek means to people and what it could do, and the fact that there were people in the 1960s who understood that and fostered it, and those people were the fans. And Gene Roddenberry later in life absolutely became that kind of futurist, looking to the future, I believe this can all happen stuff. And in the early years there was a bit of that. He was a progressive, and he wanted to push these ideas into the mainstream, but I don't think to the extent that he later became. And so Star Trek, he not only created Star Trek, but Star Trek had an effect on him and changed him for the better as well, which I think is beautiful too. So there's so much in this episode that I'm just like, I could write like an essay about this. I love it.
You could write a very long essay about it.
A book.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe a book just about this one episode.
Yeah,
because there's so much. Yeah, and I loved that speech, and it also made me think about all of the kids who were watching Star Trek at that time that thought, I want to grow up and be a scientist. I want to grow up and be a doctor. I want to grow up and do something where that helps get us into space. All
yeah,
of those
be an
things.
astronaut, an engineer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all of these things and all of these people. It's insane. We don't really think about it most of the time, but it's insane how many people who watched Star Trek when they were younger, or even as a young adult or an adult, and thought, no, I want to do something about this, and go out and do something.
mm-hmm.
Go out and make a difference. And it's just how many other shows actually inspire people in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Star Trek's always been special in that way in my mind. And I mean, people can get inspiration from a lot of different places, and I'm not saying Star Trek's the only thing, but like
Agree.
for me in my life, boy did I ever relate to what Uhura was saying there. And I mean, I know not Uhura, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
um it was just yeah, really really spoke to me. And that was where I'm kind of going like, okay, yes, like absolutely getting what they're putting down here, and thank you for putting that scene in. That's the beating heart and soul of what this episode is. And yeah, I mean, you can make fun of the goofy effects and some of the overacting from the original series, but like honestly, a lot of what Star Trek in the popular mindset is, the popular culture outside of fandom, they picture it like we saw at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of this episode. And I think that's like the starting point where they wanted to like say, this is the image that some people have of this, but by the end we're going to show you, no, it's something much more than that. Star Trek, even effects wise and all of that, was kind of Gene Roddenberry's repudiation of the cheesy Lost in Space stuff. Like he wanted to make something more grounded and more real. And did it sometimes dip into a little bit of schlockiness? Yes, of course. Star Trek has done that through its entire 60-year history, I would contend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, absolutely, that's a great way to summarize it. Star Trek was ahead of its time, and my goal, my wish for Star Trek is that it continues to always be ahead of its time, and hopefully that continues. But yeah,
Agree. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about the
yeah,
crap that's happening because I've had enough of the crap that's happening, and I just can't stomach it anymore and remain sane. So, yeah, but uh, this this episode again, there's too many things to talk about. We could probably talk about this for another hour at least,
yeah, absolutely.
and still not be done. Um, but
We
yeah,
haven't even
that
like talked about the plot of it really yet.
no, we haven't. We haven't. We haven't talked about the plot. We haven't talked about Spock. We haven't talked about any of that. We're still talking about the characters on this in this holodeck.
No.
So yeah, um, it's it's something that could have gone horribly wrong, but instead it went beautifully right.
I think so too.
And every step that they took in with this hologram, with this holodeck adventure was perfect. Everything. There wasn't a single thing that didn't have some kind of meaning to it
Mhm.
underneath what we were just seeing or hearing. And it's very layered.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk a bit about the plot then. So, uh, basically, we've got La'an being tasked with pushing the holodeck to its limits and testing it out, and kind of finding the rough areas. That was another thing that I think kind of made it better with the whole holodeck malfunction part of it, because she was
Mhm.
specifically pushing it to its limits, which like also makes the later malfunctions like even worse. Like they were just enjoying a Sherlock Holmes adventure, and they created a sentient life form that took over the ship. Like, come on. But
Yeah, thanks, Jordy.
yeah, right. um, but yeah, so she's going to model it after this murder mystery thing. This character that she fell in love with after her ordeal with the Gorn.
Amelia Moon.
Amelia Moon, thank you. Um, and Spock's gonna help her set up the program and stuff. And yeah, she get. I also, okay. There's an interesting thing where they use the language around AI that we're currently using. So she gives the computer a prompt, which is what we call it nowadays when we're giving an AI engine a prompt, right? Which is
Mhm.
what Geordi did in Elementary Dear Data. We just didn't have that language for it, which is interesting. And Scotty at several points makes reference to, the AI models and all this kind of stuff. And the reason they use the transporter signatures of people is because they have the higher resolution. The computer won't have to just create them from scratch. Presumably, if they created them from scratch, they'd look kind of waxy and weird and have extra fingers. I don't.
That's my guess. Or they would actually come out not looking like they're human at all, or they're half in a wall, or or they don't have eyes, weird stuff like that.
Okay, sorry. Amelia Moon, Dixon Hill crossover when hashtag bring back short treks, you cowards.
Yes,
Thank you,
agree,
Matthew. Yes.
agree 100%. I have been saying that for years. Why are there no more short treks? Why? Why,
Yeah.
why, why? Why was that only a Discovery thing? Because
Yeah.
it has such potential.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion because I agree completely. Um, so yeah, the computer's gonna create this murder mystery and create a solution that's going to be difficult for La'an to figure out. And boy, does it deliver, because I make no claims about seeing the ending coming except for, a few moments right before the reveal. But I will say Ethan Peck is an incredible actor, because several times throughout this, I was like, something weird about him. Like, he is more emotionless than usual. La'an's saying something to which I think Spock would respond differently, but he's just like looking right through her with like these dead eyes. And I'm like, that's a weird choice. Mind blowing. Mind blowing.
Yep. That's the thing. The minute he walks onto the holodeck and you don't hear a door, you don't hear a
Oh,
holodeck door. There's that. But then there's the dead eyes. And I kept saying that throughout the entire time. I said it more out loud, of course, but I didn't keep saying it out loud. I kept saying it in my head, dead eyes, dead eyes. And when Dave and I rewatched it, uh, gosh, I guess it was last night. Was it last night? Yeah. Um, it was, I was like, now look for the dead eyes. See that? Look
mhm.
at the dead eyes. The dead eyes. He's obviously a hologram.
Yeah. It was so well done. And like, yeah, that revelation was so good. And it's funny how monstrous he becomes once you absolutely realize he's not your Spock, right? And you're looking at him
Mhm.
through La'an's eyes. It's like, oh, that is creepy. Well
Creepy
done,
as
Lieutenant.
hell.
Like that's the computer telling her, "Well done, Lieutenant. You figured out
Mhm.
I murdered the." Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh, it was the oh yeah, the foreshadowing throughout as well. When you watch it a second time, I love like just as one example when they're interrogating uh Paul Wesley's character,
Maxwell Saint.
Maxwell Saint, when they're interrogating him, Spock says, "Did you murder him?" "No." "Did you?" I'm like, "Yeah, he did." I see that. But it's like this is, I love rewatching murder mystery stuff because the foreshadowing they layer in is brilliant, and like there's some beautiful ones in this one. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the annoying person that always figures out who the killer is.
Mhm.
Usually pretty early.
Yeah.
And that is because I grew up reading mystery novels, watching Murder, She Wrote, and all of those procedurals, mysteries, etc., and they all have kind of a pattern.
Mhm.
Whoever it is that seems to have no motive is probably your guy.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I do love that it's Anson Mount's character that kind of twigs them onto that fact. Basically
Mhm.
by saying like, "No, La'an, you're the murderer because of all this." She's like, "No, I'm not." Wait. My partner. That was wonderful. Um, so we'll come back to Lon and Scotty, right? Or Lon and Scotty, Lon and Spock right at the end, because I that was a weird slip. Um, yeah, no, it doesn't mean anything, just made a mistake.
No,
Anyway,
just they both begin with S.
I guess, yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the holodeck as a whole, because I love Lon's recommendation here that like, no, this should not be put on starships. It should be put in a box and like put away and never looked at again, kind of thing, because of
Into the
all.
sun. Just send it into the sun.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a bit here that I am absolutely convinced is proof positive that, and I mean, we don't need proof that the writers know and love Star Trek. This whole episode and everything they've written up to this point is that. But if you want absolute proof, this is it, or it is the biggest coincidence in the universe. Because, and it's going to take a little bit of a circuitous route, but in about the second episode of Star Trek Voyager, they did this thing where they're like, "Oh, can we in a briefing, can we hook up the holodeck to the ship's main power and use it to power the ship?" And the answer is no, it has a completely separate power system and is isolated from the main computer, and they're completely incompatible. Now, at the time, that made no sense. It's a really dumb thing because Voyager wanted to do holodeck episodes, but not have to explain why, they're short on replicator energy and stuff, but they're still playing around in the holodeck. In this episode, Scotty recommends, he says, "Well, no, don't put the technology away. I think it could work. All you need is a dedicated server room and to have it isolated from the rest of the main ship system so it doesn't affect anything like that." And I was like, wait a minute. That is brilliant, because now the Voyager thing actually makes sense when it never made sense before. And like, is that like, that's got to be on purpose? The writers are that
Absolutely.
good. That was
They are.
awesome.
They knew what they were doing, and in fact, when that, line happened, Dave's like, "Oh, that explains the Voyager thing."
Right?
I'm like, "Yeah,
Okay, good. I'm not the only one that saw that, because I haven't seen anybody comment that yet. And
you're
I
absolutely
think that's
right."
proof positive. They're brilliant. Like they know
Mhm.
exactly what they're doing.
They really did. The writing team for this episode is chef's kiss because everything is perfection. I have no notes.
This episode is so well written it made Voyager better. How is that possible? Oh, I'm sorry, Voyager. I don't mean to throw shade. I I like Voyager. It's my least favorite Star Trek series, but it's still Star Trek. It's still way better than like most everything else. So,
I still unabashedly love it.
oh, I mean, there are parts of Voyager I love.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Well, every series, well, not necessarily every series, but most of the series have episodes where you just go, "Are they sure I want to keep watching this?" But they offset it by having some good episodes too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know Voyager is kind of the redheaded stepchild of the pre-2000s Trek, but I was in it for Kate Mulgrew from the beginning
Yeah.
because finally a female captain.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's so much about Voyager that I love, and, like, yeah, when I poke fun at it,
Oh yeah, no, I know.
it's in good fun. I
Yes,
love Voyager.
I poke fun at it too. I do. It's fine.
So okay, so that's the holodeck. It's boxed up, it's put away. They're gonna still have it in the animated series in a few years, but, I don't know, whatever. Um, Spock and La'an, we need to talk about because
Mhm.
over the past few episodes, they've been getting closer, with the whole dancing thing. By the way, once again, the delivering lines while doing complicated dance steps.
Right.
Wow, and confirmation that that was the most difficult part, the SDCC interviews with,
Mhm.
Christina Chong, I think, and Ethan Peck, they were both saying, like, that was the most challenging thing they've ever had to do. Absolutely, and they're brilliant.
They're fantastic. Um, that's so funny because she just walks into his quarters and he's still practicing ballroom dancing. Well, technically, he's practicing Latin dancing.
Yeah.
People think that Latin dancing is ballroom dancing. It is not.
Mhm.
It is Latin dancing, and there's a distinct difference between the two. Ballroom is a lot more uppity, if you want to be honest, and it's whereas Latin dancing is sexy and sensuous, and it's people falling in love. That's what Latin dancing is. It's not what ballroom dancing is. Ballroom
Yeah.
dancing is I can't even look at my partner.
Yeah.
No, I must not. Basically, ballroom dancing.
Well, if Latin dancing is falling in love, it's working here because, yeah, they've been getting closer, and La'an recognizes that, she knows Spock, and he's not reacting the way that Spock does, so that helps her figure out what's going on there, and, the computer also knew that, like, he would be the perfect partner for her for this and all of this stuff, so there's, like, all of these little signs that are telling her certain things, and, at the end, they share a fairly passionate, um, locking of the lips there, which,
Mm.
wow, and
Yep,
Spock's a bit of a player. He's kinda
I am here for it
here, here.
because both of them are very logical people.
Mhm.
They don't have big flights of fancy, um, except for this. And look, even the holodeck thing, it wasn't a flight of fancy. She was working.
Yeah,
She was
absolutely.
having fun, but she was working. And so they have a lot in common and they understand each other in that way. And I was hoping, actually, from episode 2, I was hoping, is there something going on there? Because I'm feeling like there's something going on there. And I would be all for that. I would be 100% for that. And then we get to this episode and I'm like, yes.
Mhm. Absolutely. I've seen some speculation by people, and we gotta be very careful here because, there are future episodes, and we're not going to bring in anything that we've seen in future episodes or anything like that, but, um I've seen people asking online, or one or two people saying, like, this kiss at the end, is that reality or is that still someone's imagination or something like that? I will say when I first saw this episode, that thought never entered my mind. This is absolute reality, and I absolutely think it is. So,
Completely
um,
agree. Yep.
yeah. So not saying anything about future episodes, whether that's confirmed or denied or anything, but watching this
Mhm.
episode, no, that's reality, I think.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. There's one thing that I just remembered about Spock in the holodeck. There's this scene where he's just sitting down on a sofa and he's like so still, it's as if he's a mannequin. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's absolutely not Spock. because though I know he could do that if he wanted, again, it's the dead eyes. It's like his eyelids are just a little bit lower. And it's just so subtle, but those dead eyes. Ethan
Yeah.
Peck, you are a genius, sir.
It's incredible acting. It absolutely is. And this episode absolutely deserves a second watch if you haven't done that. There's so much in there to pick through that
So
wasn't
much.
immediately was not meant to be immediately apparent, but once you know certain things and once you've seen it and you can piece that together, they're so brilliantly front and center. Like the pieces are all there for sure. It's absolutely beautiful.
It is. It really is. And honestly, I think I could watch this 3 or 4 more times and still find new things that I didn't notice the first
Yeah.
200 times. No, it's not the first couple of times.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Well, anything that we haven't mentioned for this episode that you'd like to bring up? Um,
I loved the way Scotty got in touch with Lon. It's
yes, that was
basically
great.
being in the film, his cute little polo that he and just suddenly coming way up to the camera and saying, "Lon, if you're listening," just telling her what's going on. And yeah, that was ingenious. Well done, Scotty.
That was really good.
So
That was really good. Yeah. Oh, we got a canonical definite mention that Spock is related to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle now, which
yep.
is great. Because yeah, in Star Trek 6, I think it is, he says, an ancestor of mine once maintained that once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth, which is a Sherlock Holmes line, which led to years of speculation that Spock was related to Arthur Conan Doyle. And sure enough, in this episode, he outright says, yeah, my ancestor, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. That was
hmm
nice.
Well done. Well done. And there are people who are like, yeah, the way he's spoken, half human dumbasses. Come on.
I Yeah, I hope people don't forget that. We also have just one little thing that I loved. One thing that I've missed about Star Trek for a long time. This is a really niche little thing, but a lot of times on the bridge, like Kirk would be there and someone would come up with a fuel consumption report for him to sign, or while he's having a conversation, oh, take, sign, give. I just love these little things about starship business that make it feel real. And
hmm
I've been missing that for the last few years. It seems just one little thing that I'm like, oh, if I was a director, I'd put something in there. In this episode, there's just Una goes and signs off on Scotty's logs in engineering.
hmm
And I was like, oh, thank you. Something like I liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Anyway,
So
that was a
good.
really minor thing, but
Just people going around with clipboards,
yeah,
just
it just makes it
clipboards.
feel like a lived in real universe, you know?
Yep, it does.
Yeah,
Because that's what would be happening on a naval ship in our time. So
exactly. Yeah.
they might have iPads now. I don't know.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Anyway, final thoughts and a rating for a space adventure hour. And I see we've already got a rating to highlight here.
I unabashedly love this episode. I love the satire of it. I love the social commentary of it. I love the nods to itself, to Star Trek itself. The actors are brilliant, and if there was ever any doubt in anyone's mind that they were, you now have this episode. And I actually await the day that Paul Wesley DMs William Shatner with his performance. I would love that. He mentioned he might do that at SDCC, but
Oh,
but yeah, it's the kind of episode that reminds you why you love Star Trek. It reminds us why we started watching it in the first place. And it reminds us of the people who fought to keep it on the air, not just the fans, but the people behind the scenes that wanted to keep this going. And you've got everything. You've got everything in this episode. You got everything. You got problems, you got fun, you got murder, you got Vulcans with dead eyes. You got so many things. There's so many working pieces in this that just make it so interesting, and I probably will find more things in the future watching it again. So I would say I give this one failed Riker attempt, but in a good way.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Yeah, I love this episode. And again, like I knew this reaction was coming, but I feel like the pushback is coming harder, that like, no, this is actually a really good episode. And and again, we have a very narrow selection of people who are tuning into this live stream, but like it's pretty universal across the folks here that I'm seeing that this is a winner. I love just how talented this cast is. They're all incredible. Every single cast member was playing somebody that they're not in this, including Ethan Peck as Spock. You just might not necessarily realize it until later. And they're all brilliant at it. It was so good. I also just quickly want to highlight this because I never thought of that. Spock and Data have met. I wonder, like, once Data gets his emotion chip in, if he's like, oh my God, Spock was related to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Why didn't I get his autograph?
I could see that. I could see that. He's still around in Picard age, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
I love that. But yeah, I have to give this one impassioned speech by a Star Trek fan about the value of this franchise and what it means to people. That's my rating for this episode. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Brandi, tell us a bit about the two big podcasts you've got going on right now, because people need to listen to them.
Well, thanks. You probably, if you're a returning member of the group, you know that I have a podcast with my husband Dave called Shield Podulation, where we randomly pick an episode of Star Trek and then talk about it. And we're adding to the list all the freaking time now. So just gonna push it out that much more. How many more weeks? We've added 4 weeks now. 4 more weeks of this, which is not a complaint. Yeah, we don't edit anything because we're sick of editing. So what you hear is what we said. And basically the only thing Dave does is noise reduction and leveling our sound and slapping in the intro and outro on it. And honestly, it's so refreshing to not have to do all that work.
So what episode are you guys on? What's next?
It's season. Is it season 2? It's season 2. I can't remember the episode number, but I could look it up. But I'm not going to. But it's Judgment. So that's going to be fun because Klingons. JG Hertzler.
Yeah.
Hello. Yes, season 2. I'm sorry, I didn't say Enterprise.
Oh, that's okay.
Apologies.
That's a great episode. I love that episode.
It is a great episode, and I remember really, really liking it when I first saw it, and have liked repeated viewings. So we have that, and then I roped Dave into doing my other podcast, Boldly Go, which is exclusively about Strange New Worlds, and he's been filling in nicely as a person who was raised by women, and he's like the least toxic person I've ever known. So we get on well, and we had a very interesting conversation yesterday, which our new episode is out. We're a little bit behind. We're going to have to catch up this week, which was Shuttle to Kinfori. And we have an interesting conversation about what the zombies mean. So
nice.
Yeah, we ended up actually agreeing and having a good time with that. So you can find those on your normal podcasters, Boldly Go and Shield Podulation. And then I do this with Dan.
Yeah.
This show that we're doing right now, I do this with Dan every time we have new episodes of Star Trek. So.
Absolutely. So yeah, check those out. Tune in every Saturday for Unready Room with us here, and also check out Positively Trek, doing new episodes every Friday after the episode of Strange New Worlds drops on Thursday through to the end of the season. And then we've got Star Trek Con coming up. So I don't know how we're going to cover that, but it's going to be fun, I think. We'll figure that out. Thank you all so much for joining us once again, and see you next week for Through the Lens of Time. Live long and prosper, everybody, and have a great rest of your weekend.